Hello everyone, and welcome back to the layout. Today we're going to be starting on part 2 of our freight car tour. This one's going to cover all of the box cars that are currently on the layout, and as you guys are going to see, there's quite a wide variety of cars here, a little bit of everything going on with, all the different Conrail paint schemes, as well as some Penn Central cars, and a little bit of foreign box cars as well from other railroads. So hopefully you sit back, relax, and enjoy as we're going to take a look at everything that's on the layout right now that's a boxcar. Alright, so a few notes before we get too far into this here. This is just the cars that are on the layout right now. This is nowhere near my entire collection of box cars because, well, I'm sure I'm not the only one out there who has a problem with buying freight cars, and, well, this is just scratching the surface of what I have, but I try to have a little bit of everything on here. I don't want to have like 5 of the exact same car paint scheme deal. I like to have, different schemes and different cars and such, so this is just what's on the layout right now. Also worth noting is that there are no 86-foot box cars on the layout right now. I believe I had a video out last summer that had an auto parts boxcar train, and I've since taken those cars off the layout because they take up so much space and they're a little bit too cumbersome. Whenever I get around to doing the layout tour video, making a new one that's better than the last one, maybe give you guys a little better idea on why I only have so much on the layout, because it's really not as big as it looks on the old YouTube there. So let's go ahead and let's start here with the first car here of our box cars. This is an X58 from Tangent. This car is from, I believe, the first run of these. This is one I actually recently weathered. Kind of went with a pretty gnarly fade and did a little, got like the white running down from the Conrail logos. Got some pretty gnarly rust deal going on the roof. And then just like little scrapes and marks here and there. It's a car I really, really like. These Tangent X58s are absolutely awesome. Just beautiful, beautiful models. And they're a model that, in my opinion, are so well done that it makes doing the weathering and stuff easier, because it's easy to make a good car look better. It's hard to make a car that doesn't look that great look good, which we'll see here in a minute. So this is the first car in our train here. Let's move on to the next one. Alright, our next car here is an X72A. This is from Rapido. I was really excited when these did these a few years ago, and then, I got them and I was kind of like, oh, geez. So, I bought the 6-packs of these. I'm sure I'm not the only one that did that, and to my dismay, when I got them and I started looking at prototype photos, like, Rapido used, like, the same, like, decal and setup deal, like, the same decal style on every single car in the 6-pack, and that would be great if they picked car numbers that all had the same kind of lube plate and like little decal arrangements, but they didn't. So the couple of these I have so far, I've actually had to go through and re-decal certain parts of them. I also had to add weight to them, which is kind of another like poo-poo thing to me when you get a brand new freight car and you got to add weight to it. But obviously this car, we went for a bit of like a late 90s repaint or mid 90s and just got some like dirt on there with them. Just did that with a wash coat. Tried to keep this one a little bit cleaner. The next one here will be a little bit dirtier, as you'll see. Alright, so for this car I had to go ahead and do a little bit of a heavier fade on it because it's a little bit of an earlier repaint compared to the previous one. But again, another Rapido X72. Again, I had to add weight to this one. This one's also one that I put the magnetic air hoses on when they decide to connect here. But overall, it's not a bad car. Just kind of the little goofy stuff from Rapido that drives everybody nuts because you're paying top dollar for a car, and they just kind of fumble the ball a little bit compared to like a Tangent or even a Scale Trains car. But, overall, I suppose it's much better than having to build the lifelike cars when it's all said and done. Just another box car, so to speak. I wish it would have been done a little bit better, but it's better than what we had, so gotta take what you can get. All right, our first Moloko car here on the layout. This is a BE55B, is what it says on there. So a little funny story about these cars. I remember when I first got back into the hobby, I saw these for sale, and I saw the price, and I about threw up, because this was 2017-ish. I couldn't believe a boxcar could cost that much, and now, 3-4 years later, it's like, okay, all right, I get it. And I got this car this last summer. Really, really nicely detailed car. I like how it's got the separate end ladders and all the little, really nice crisp detail on it. This one, obviously, I went for a bit of a late 90s look. Again, just a little dirt here, a little blacked out weights on there and stuff, just the basic stuff, just to kind of make it fit in with the train. But a really, really nice car when it's all said and done, and one that looks nice in the train. All right, so here we have another Tangent X58. This car is from the run, I want to say 3 years ago, roughly, right around 3 years ago. And this one I weathered, gosh, 2-3 years ago as well. I weathered it after I got it, shortly thereafter. And this one, I just kind of went for some prototype photos. I saw similar cars. I add a little bit of like Penn Central green showing through in different spots to kind of make it look like it's chipped and all that. This is before I started doing a lot of work with the markers and stuff to do the simulated paint chipping and stuff. But again, just another really nice X58 from Tangent. Got a couple more of these here on the layout that we'll see as well. But this is just a different paint scheme than the first one we saw. All right, and here we have our second Moloko car, the only two Moloko cars I have for that matter. This is a B22B, I think it's an ex-New York Central car. This is, again, one I picked up last year, and as you guys can tell, I got kind of gnarly with the weathering on this one. Went ahead and kind of really faded it and did a lot of little, rust scrape marks and some random, like, graffiti-ish stuff I saw in a prototype photo that I tried to replicate as best I could. You guys know I'm not very big on graffiti. But, like, when it's, like, these little, like, somebody doodled on there with a piece of chalk or something like that, and it's kind of washed out and stuff, I like to do that kind of graffiti. I don't like to do the big, colorful, loopy BS type graffiti, so that's the, little bit I do on that. But either way, another really nice car here, and another one that looks good in our train of boxcars here. All right, and here we have another X58 from Tangent. This particular one is an X58C. If my memory serves, this actually started off as an undecorated car, and I actually did the decals on it because at the time I couldn't find this particular Penn Central scheme in a Tangent car, specifically this one with the small little Penn Central worm. I get in a bit of a funk sometimes. Maybe you guys are the same way, where like you like a certain thing like this really small Penn Central and you have to have a car like that. So this is one of the ones I did at that time. It was probably around 2020-ish, maybe back during COVID. I can't quite remember, but this one, of course, has a really, really heavy weathering job based off of prototype photos where, like, here you could see, like, the PRR kind of bleeding through in rust, and down here there's kind of like an outline of a Keystone logo kind of bleeding through as the rust as well. This is where I kind of started to get a little bit better with weathering, kind of having half an idea what I was doing, and just putting all this rust in, these rust spots around the door, and then coming in and doing powders over the top of that. And this is a car that I really, really like. I'll probably be on the layout for quite a while just because I love how the weathering turned out. I could probably do better now, but I still think it looks pretty dang good. And here we have yet another Tangent X58. I believe this one was another undecorated one I picked up, or maybe it was just painted. I don't quite recall, but this one I decaled myself. Back in my insanity, I wanted these quality logo cars, so I did 3 or 4 of them. This is the only one that's still on the layout right now that I did, but obviously a very late Conrail repaint. That's why it's just got this little bit of like a sandy dustiness along the bottom, but other than that, it's pretty much a clean car. A little bit of, like rust brown on some of these like hinge components, etc. But just a clean, good looking car. Again, back to me liking to mix the really weathered cars with really unweathered cars. That's going to be the last of the tangent cars here as we move forward, but as you guys have seen, I still have a couple of them here. Not as many as I do with gondolas, G43s and such, but still a good representation. All right, and of course, what late 90s layout wouldn't be complete without a rail box car here? This is one of the branch line models kits that I actually built this one, I want to say 2 years ago or so. I was trying to find this specific rail box scheme in a nice car with, the good grab irons and all the separate detail and stuff. And I came up on a deal on these branch line kits, and I did this one. And, obviously the weathering's a little like, I could probably do better, but it's still pretty gnarly. Just got a little scrape marks and stuff. This is when I was first starting to kind of get like the hang of the doing all the little rust streaks and stuff. And I kind of like cleaned off these I got the little ribs on the side and such, and kind of just made it look a little bit variation to it. And, kind of went off a couple different photos to kind of get roughly what I was looking for. But, of course, just a cool car to kind of blend in a train. I mean, if you're modeling the late 90s, you got to have a few rail boxes because they were everywhere back then. So this is just the one that I have on the layout right now. All right, in keeping with our kit car theme here, this is another branch line 50-foot boxcar kit here. This one's a CSX car, obviously, and I went for a late 90s, kind of early 90s, somewhere in there, CSX boxcar that's been repainted. It's got some rustish kind of stuff going on around the door where the door's all dirty and rusty, but other than that, just kind of a more clean car to blend in with everything else. Just have a little variety and then get a little bit of a little something different going on, if you will, I suppose. But just another car I built out of a kit. I do enjoy building kits from time to time. All right, now here we have a bit of a pride and joy project for me here. Now this is the X75 from North American Railcar. I'm sure the few of you that are familiar with that are gonna go, no way, but yeah, it's an X75 from them. I remember when those came in, everybody was pretty disappointed with how they looked because they had like the grab irons and all the plastic separate detail parts were a different color brown than the actual car, and they goofed up there was just a lot of sloppy stuff with the assembly on them. So when I managed to pick one up, I kind of took it as a bit of a challenge, if you will, to see how cool I could make it from a car that a lot of people weren't very happy with, and I think it turned out pretty dang gnarly. Went ahead and did one of those crazy things where I open up the boxcar door, bleh, and I put like a separate, like a fake floor in there to make it look like it's got a wooden floor. There's a pallet laying in there, and obviously, as you guys can tell, it's opened up on both sides, so you can go all the way right on through there. And then while I did all that, I also added weight in each end of the cars because they were way too light right out of the box. But then just went in and did a really, really heavy weathering job on it to kind of hide some of the different colored stirrups and ladders and all that fun stuff, just to make it all blend together. And I think it turned out pretty cool. It's one that'll kind of stand out as a train goes by, But these real cars had a lot of paint peeling and chipping problems, so that's kind of what makes this one look pretty gnarly and cool. All right, so here we have another branch line kit. This is a B52B boxcar here. Again, as you guys can tell, big old Conrail Steve and his open doors. I got in a little bit of a thing with that for a while there. And the other thing I kind of got into with these was I like the cars with the tall ladders still on them, even though they might not have a roof walk anymore. I just like the look of the tall ladders. So I kind of got a bit of a thing with that for a while, where I was trying to get all the boxcars I could that had those still. And this is just one of them I picked up at the time. This one, the weathering jobs are right on it. Overall, it's just kind of a neat car. I like to have cars with the doors open because that still happened in the late 90s. It doesn't so much today, but back then it was still kind of commonplace and something kind of neat to look back at. All right, here we have a cotton belt boxcar, the St. Louis Southwestern. And Conrail did a lot of interchange with Southern Pacific, Cotton Belt, all that in the 90s. So I kind of felt it was right to have at least one of these cars on the layout. And this particular one, the whole reason I have it is because I got it for really, really cheap. I think I paid like $10 for it. It's a Genesis car with I believe it's got the rolling bearing caps and everything on it, but just kind of went for a bit of a gnarly fade job with, you know, the lettering all bleeding down and, you know, little scrapes and all that fun stuff. Nothing too crazy, but just a lot of little subtle things like the lettering all kind of like got little white spots where it's peeling up, and the little dark spot here where the ACI plate was, and just really, really neat little stuff. But just kind of a cool car, a little blend in with the train as it goes by. But if you really, you know, stop and look at it, it's pretty gnarly looking. All right, and now starting into some of our high cube cars here, we have a 60-foot Union Pacific boxcar. Those of you that have been around on the channel a while remember, I believe I did a weathering video on this, if I'm not mistaken. I gotta go back and look. I'm pretty sure I did, though, because this was another car I picked up for dirt cheap. They're like $10 Genesis car that I went ahead and found a prototype photo I liked and just went to town, you know, got the whole super rusty thing, the UP lettering all disappearing off it, and of course all the little chippage and rust spots everywhere. Just a really, really wild looking car that is prototypically correct for, I think, 98 or 99 is when the picture I found of it was. But just another cool car to have, just to kind of put in with trains. And it's kind of my thing is to have these oddball cars that look cool, that'll blend in but will stick out if you are paying attention. All right, in keeping with our 60-foot cars here, this one was a bit of a kit bash build, if I'm remembering correctly. This is an X61D. This car started off as a Walthers 60-foot double-door car that originally these had, like, the trucks were, like, over, like, the center of the trucks was more, like, over here, and they just looked really goofy. So I ended up cutting the bolster off the bottom and sliding it down, and I figured out that it was actually a pretty good match for the X61 car, so went ahead and just did a repaint on it, put the decals on it, and boom, it's the late 90s. So this overall is a pretty neat car, one that I'm kind of proud of, because again, it was another kit bash kind of deal. So anytime you could take something kind of like and make it look good, it's always a thumbs up in my book. So this one came out pretty good, I'd say. All right, here we have yet another Walthers 60-foot car. This one came out like a year or so ago, I want to say, maybe last summer. This is an X6, or what is it, X82? That's what it says on there anyway. And overall, just a car I did a fade job on and did a little rustation too. By the doors, little scrapes and all that fun jazz. But just a simple weathering job. I like to kind of blend these into just cars that don't have a lot of weathering. And overall, this one came out pretty good, I'd say. All right, and here we have an X78. This is an exact rail car. This is the only one of these I have on the layout right now. I've got a boatload of them, but this is the only one that's out right now. As you can tell, this one's kind of got like a bleached out fade going on with a little bit of like a kind of, you know, dirt running down the seams and little rust scrapes and such. This one I think came out pretty good. This one, I think I did this one like a year or two ago. I don't quite recall. But either way, just kind of a cool, you know, 60-foot box car. I like to have these like 60-foot auto parts cars as well, just to kind of blend in here and there, just have a couple of them to mix into manifest freights and such. All right, in keeping with our 60-foot cars, we have a B62F. This is actually an Athearn ready-to-roll car. I believe these came out a year or two ago as well. And just a simple weathering job, nothing too crazy. Just got a little bit of dirt on there and a little, you know, rust scrapes and stuff, but nothing too wild. These cars, I added the KD 158s, and I think I put tangent semi-scale wheels on this as well, because I kind of been trying to change everything over to the semi-scale wheels as I get to it, and anything that's not at least already done, I've been trying to do that. But just another neat car here to have with an auto parts service, or on my layout, they're actually for rolls of paper out of the paper mill. All right, and here we have a pretty freaking cool one here. This is one of two Seaboard Central box cars I have here. Obviously, for those of you that know, that's Mr. Tim Garland's layout on YouTube at the Seaboard Central. And when these came out from Home Shops, I ended up grabbing two of them, and I did the old open up the door on them. With that, I think I added weight on each end, and I put a fake floor in there. Of course, got the pallet sitting in there to give us a little bit of a loaded look to it. But other than that, just kind of put a few rust scrapes and A lot of rust around the door. These are in like bagged salt service on my layout, as well as scrap paper. So these kind of just, I wanted to have them look a little bit weathered, but I didn't want to get too carried away with them. I still want them to be kind of clean. So this is the first one here. All right, and here we have our second Seaboard Central boxcar. As you can see, this one has the doors open as well, go all the way through. This one's closed a little bit more though, because I wanted to get the SC logo on there because I thought it looked really neat. So again, same as the one before, added weight to it and put the tangent semi-scale wheels on. Got a little bit of like bleeding down from the paint in different spots and the usual rust stuff, but just a really, really cool car, and ones that I'm really glad with how they came out. Eventually I will get the video out on opening up these doors and how I did that. I just still, almost 9 months later have to edit it together. So hopefully I'll get that done here soon and get that out to you guys. So you guys too that want to can open up the doors on your boxcars. All right, last but not least here on our boxcars, we have this chassis system patched CSX car here. This car, I don't even remember where I got this. I got this in a lot of cars off of eBay, and as you guys can tell, it's pretty rough looking. It's definitely not my best work, but it's a chassis system boxcar and it's on the layout right now. I don't have anything else chassis boxcar weathered, so this is just kind of the one that's out here to have some variety. I went ahead and put these boxes inside of it. Of course, got the open door thing that I was big on there for a while, and just a pretty heavy weathering job. I think I did this 4 or 5 years ago. It's been quite a while, so that's why the weathering's kind of not the best, but still out just until I do something better. Eventually I'll build a better car than this, but that's going to wrap it up here for all of the box cars that are on the layout. Hope you all enjoy this, and hopefully you all will tune in for next week, which will probably be either gondolas or covered hoppers. I haven't decided yet, but either way, I'm going to keep doing these split up like this because it would be like an hour-and-a-half long video if I did this with all the cars at once. So I figured 20 minutes is probably pushing it in the first place, what people can sit through as far as watching me talk about freight cars and show them to you. So hopefully you all tune in next week, and as always, thanks for watching.